And then it also kind of was an incentive for people to like, well, let's see what happens if I write a question. I want to see the outcome. It reminded me a little bit of like those street performers who will like stand in a pose, and like if you give them a coin, they'll like do something or interact with you. I feel like a little bit of like a wind up toy or something. It was
in the video. There's one where a guy's like playing with the guy, and he like puts his finger, and the guy just fucking punches him.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Welcome back to the Burning Boat Show. This week we have another conversation with our social media wizard, Robin, and we get into some interesting topics regarding the work we do here at Burning Boat. We then talk a little bit about... What the hell do we talk about?
Your pitch.
Then we talk an awkward amount about how I'm struggling to work on the pitch. Mm-hmm. And you'll notice that I keep trying to bring the subject up because it's the only thing I can think about. Apologize for that. And then there's some extra Patreon content at the end that if you want to go check that out, you can visit the link below.
Mm-hmm. Enjoy the episode.
Yes, enjoy. All right, here we go. We're back. You might notice that Robin is back on the show.
Hey.
Robin was on the show like 5 weeks ago.
Hey.
And well, it's actually kind of it's a little bit sad because it's been 2 months, which was the time that Robin was going to be here for a trial period.
And now I'm leaving.
Sadly, Robin is going back to wherever he came from.
Yeah.
And we're going to be left alone.
That sucks, man.
I mean, it was really good having you here.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just kidding. Well, Robin's actually going back, but then he's coming back to work with us full time. So that's exciting.
Well, we hired our first employee.
Yeah. There we go.
You! Oh, we should have had like a... God damn it.
One of those cannons.
Confetti. Can you edit in some like confetti or something?
Yeah, I can do that.
Cool. Should we bring the green screen out? No. It's been... The trial period is pretty much up next week. This is your last week as an intern.
Yeah.
And then you will officially be...
A Burning Boat boy.
A Burning Boat boy.
Yeah. BBB.
One of the many.
Gotta get you a shirt that says Burning Boat boy. Mm-hmm. And one for us as well.
Are we also boys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're men.
No, we're boys.
You're boys.
But today's podcast is going to be about Robin.
Yeah.
Well, you said after let's start there. You said after last episode when with you that you can we please do another one? Like, why did you say that so quickly after we'd finished?
Because it's the second podcast I've ever done. The first one was like 3 years ago with you guys. Yeah. And
titled Robin and the Lost Drone.
The Lost Drone. Let's not revisit that one.
Because for those of you guys who don't know, Robin once flew our drone over the ocean.
Into the ocean.
It wasn't.
It never returned.
Got lost in some bushes.
Got lost in the wind.
Yeah.
We don't know which way it went.
Yeah. Good story, though.
It's a very good story. And we have a new drone now.
Yeah.
That we never
You
used.
have a drone.
We have a new drone. Yeah.
Anyway, I was just saying how it's a weird thing, sort of, you're having quite natural conversations, but at the back of your mind, you're quite aware of the fact that it's being recorded.
Yeah.
So you're thinking about, what am I going to say next? And
you said you didn't know if you could ask certain questions.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't know how much of the conversation was pre-planned. Like if I asked a question, would it throw you guys off?
And we're like,
no. You know what? We can take it. Challenge. Hit us with questions to see if you can throw us off.
Yeah.
We'll be on our best game this whole episode.
I'll just grab my big book of notes. Yeah.
But I think from our perspective, it was just the idea of not having you here was too unbearable.
We cried a little.
It's just with all this content coming out and the dynamic of having 3 people in the office.
Yeah. For those who don't know, if you've been following us on Instagram and wondering, by golly, these guys are really putting out a lot of content, it's thanks to
me.
We haven't been putting out any content.
Yeah.
We might be in the content,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we're not making it.
Well, we're making some of it.
Yeah. So,
It's a joint effort.
Yeah, it's a joint effort, but you're leading and you're putting the pressure on and saying, like, you're leaving for 2 weeks now and you're trying to get all the content together for
Oh, yeah.
I would guarantee you if it was us two, it,
Like-
it just wouldn't be there.
we'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, we'll come back later.
Yeah.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's my job. So
Yeah. Yeah.
got to do it. Got to get it done.
I wanted to. I wrote some questions. I thought it might be interesting for you to try and answer.
Mm-hmm.
What's something that surprised you about what we do? Can I get in?
You're a little late.
Oh, thank you.
Hello.
Why are we
Okay.
choosing?
So we drank at
Why are
the
you
same
doing
time.
a secret cheers?
He just
without
gave me a look,
Yeah, because we just happened to pick it up at the exact
and
same
I
time.
read what you were saying. Cheers,
Good.
buddy.
Cheers.
I forced my way in there. Anyways, what's something that surprised you about what we do at Burning Boat?
About what you do.
Yeah. So you might have had like some expectations about what it would be like working here, and probably some things are as you expected them to be. But what's something that you really didn't know that surprised you, that you've either been part of or seen us do, or just something that happens here that you hadn't thought of? And that can be like anything.
Yeah.
Oh, I threw him off. First
Yeah,
question.
very nice.
I win.
It's a good question. Something that surprised me.
Something that you
How-
just didn't expect that, I don't know, always make lunch for each other. Like, that's nice. Like, I didn't expect that to happen. By the way, we don't make
We
lunch
never
for each
make
other.
lunch
We
for each
make
other.
our
That never
separate
happens.
lunches, and we actually said that we were supposed to start making
Oh, it was my turn.
group lunches. Yeah.
What did I lose a bet or something?
That was last week.
Oh.
It was meant to be Friday,
That was
wasn't
a
it?
very delicious
Okay,
meal
well,
you made me.
This week I'll do something.
Yeah, something good.
Cauliflower tacos
Yeah.
for the third time. Sure.
I haven't had it in many moons.
Oof.
What surprised me? I think it's probably not the main thing, just because I'm trying to think. How into everything that you do you guys are.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Passionate?
You expected us not to be into it?
No, I did it, just the extent of it. And
Cheers, bro.
the
There you go.
how much of it isn't just like a day-to-day thing. It's sort of you in particular think a lot about like the future and ideas and all of that. I really like listening to, when I do listen, when you guys are brainstorming ideas for stuff, because it's just like I've only experienced that with my own thoughts, my own ideas.
Yeah.
But sort of listening to you guys, like you're back and forth. It's kind of cool.
That's kind of the part I was hoping you'd talk about, because no one's ever been part of this before. So it's interesting to know what someone who hasn't been part of it before sees when we're doing stuff like that. Like anything that like you went to some of our meetings with clients. You've been listening in on like a lot of meetings we've had over like Skype and Zoom, and then obviously you've been here for like major brainstorming sessions where we're talking about like the future of the business, things that we aren't even doing yet, as well as been part of actually producing content.
And
all
cool.
that.
And I think also just the range of different types of clients that you interact with, because it's a pretty big range, to be honest. And how you I wondered what it was like, sort of. It is obviously an office, but it's still got quite a like relaxed, sort of like got quite a relaxed vibe.
It's the Burning Boat office.
But then you can obviously switch to the more, like, for example, with one of the clients that
One of our more corporate clients.
yeah, one of them exactly. They're
It's
I
more
mean,
corporate.
it's a big corporate business, you know, so you have to like
It was funny that
communicate.
the last time we were on the phone with them, I think I was just suddenly very aware of what I was wearing and what they were wearing. And then you were just cooking lunch in the background. And you had just started. And I was like, shh. And I was like, oh, very professional on our end. They have like blurred. I mean, they were in the rooms too because of Corona, but they're like blurring their backgrounds. And they're like, yeah.
Yeah, I was also like,
just chopping my carrots
in the background
of
our place?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that is something that I wouldn't say has surprised me, but has been just a huge part of what we do is like switching jobs constantly, like switching from, all right, we got to be super creative and think super long term because we're writing a script and we have to think about like act 3, so we're trying to like talk characters, and then the next minute we're filing taxes, and then the next minute we're prepping for a meeting with the client, and then we're having the meeting, and then afterwards we're shooting some social media content, and then we're thinking strategy about social media, and that's like the amount of different hats you have to wear is pretty intense sometimes.
I think most of the questions that I had and most of the things that I was curious about, I've gotten answers to without even having to ask, just like seeing the way you guys do things. So that's interesting.
What's something, here's another question for you. What's something that you struggle to explain or convey to like friends and family about what you do here? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I have that, like, like I just don't talk about certain things because it's just hard to explain or it's too much to try and...
Specifically what I do or like what?
No, what you do. What you do here. Something where you feel like you want to tell them, but it's a little hard for them to be able to understand and you struggle to explain it.
I mean, I think the whole having social media be an actual position is something like probably that people of older generations don't really understand that well. Also because, I mean, like take my parents, for example, they don't have Instagram and a lot of like 80%, like 70-80% of what I do is for Instagram. Yeah. So
people probably don't really understand either, like what it's for.
Yeah.
What's the...
Okay,
you spent all day making this video.
What's the purpose behind it? Yeah.
What is the purpose behind it? Should we talk about that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting question. I think a part of the trial period, I mean, we were very clear with you that we weren't expecting any kind of metric result. We weren't expecting like, okay, if you can get us so and so many followers on Instagram by the end of your trial period, that will equal success, and that will equal that you can keep working here. We said it was much more about like seeing what we work like together and seeing your commitment and if you're improving creatively and all that stuff, and that the metrics of getting followers is secondary to that.
For sure.
But that being said, I mean, we haven't had that much growth. In fact,
it's
starting to
go
go down.
Weird. It's like literally
right?
Within the same, it's probably like 30 or 40 followers. It goes up in between that number.
Fluctuates.
Forward and back.
Basically, it's stuck there.
It is kind of.
We had that for more than a year before.
Yeah. But also, I mean, back then, you weren't like weren't consistent with it really. Whereas now it's as consistent.
Yeah, not as now. But even when we were consistent,
you would still expect like a slow increase.
Yeah, you would.
That's true.
You know,
I think, but I think it's also a good thing because then it also makes you realize, oh, maybe we should start doing things slightly different, like an idea that we had yesterday.
Yeah.
Sort of coming up with new ways to not specifically get more followers, but just to create new content that's a bit more fresh than the stuff that's been put out for like a month or two. Try some new things. But what you said about what's the goal?
Yeah.
I mean, you said it in, I think it was last week's podcast about how a lot of it has to do with putting out quality content that people like and that people see value in, and then creating some kind of community. Because I mean, the number of followers, it's a good number, you know, and I think trying to figure out what people like and what they want to see is a huge part of it, as well as then also us figuring out what we want to put out and create.
I guess there's two sides to it. I mean, the content that we're putting out seems to be being received well by the people who are already following us, which is good.
Yeah.
So that's definitely, sometimes you start to get so focused on the numbers and it's like, oh, right, but there's already all these people who are engaging with it and commenting back and who want to see it and stuff like that. But I think, yeah, you're right that it forces you to, keep adjusting and improving our strategy as well as the content.
Yeah.
I mean, we did Instagram live for the first time.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
So it's something we've been talking about doing because it's a tool that we haven't tried out yet. Like, who knows what this is? And there's a lot of
we're just trying everything.
Sources online that say that that's a really good way to engage with your audience and to also, improve your algorithm a little bit, because it literally puts you on the front of people's feeds. It says Burning Boat's now live. It's another kind of content that we haven't tried before, total new medium. And I was like, let's just do it today. And you were a little bit apprehensive towards it at first.
Yeah.
But I would say it ended up turning out quite positive.
Yeah, as soon as, I think my point was just, again, the thing, maybe I'm not asking enough questions, where as soon as we had a plan, and I was like, okay, we're doing this in these moments when there's nobody there. I think from what I've seen of the Instagram lives, it's people like sitting on their couch, talking to their followers. And I was like, oh, let's have something to talk about. I don't want to just sit there in silence until someone asks a question.
Well, the uncertainty of it is definitely a little intimidating.
Yeah.
But I think it was good that we finally did it, because now at least I'm a little bit excited about doing it again this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think we didn't break any records in terms of viewership, but I think we had a max of like 9 viewers.
At one time,
But what's surprising is
time.
we had like 10 questions, 12 questions or something.
A lot of people
if not
asking us
more.
questions. What was the total amount of viewers that we had?
69.
69.
Nice.
Yeah. It's pretty
It's
good.
not bad.
Yeah.
For a 15-minute live
percentage,
session or 20-minute live session.
I mean, the worst case scenario would have been no one's there.
Well, that was what we were afraid of, basically, right? We were afraid that we were
Yeah.
just going to sit there and no one was going to.
But we had a
stop by.
backup, Now I was fine even if that had happened. It's like still a funny video. It still works.
Yeah, we ended up, for those of you who didn't see it, we ended up setting up a little set, gave it some moody lighting, had some moody music.
Yeah.
Moody as in like party dance, underground
very, like,
electronic
industrial
music.
red lights.
Yeah.
Underground.
And then
rave
we set up a
situation,
sign that said the music stops when the questions start.
Yeah.
And we were basically just kind of dancing to the music until someone asks us a question, which gave us the opportunity of not looking awkward. Well, we might have looked awkward, but not feeling as awkward, because we weren't just sitting there. We were actually doing something.
We had something. Because originally the idea was that we were going to ask questions and we're going to start answering questions as people are
Coming in,
and they can ask additional questions.
Yeah.
And we had kind of used up all our questions on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just a different way of doing it.
And then it also kind of was an incentive for people to like, well, let's see what happens if I write a question. I want to see the outcome. It reminded me a little bit of like those street performers who will like stand in a pose, and like if you give them a coin, they'll like do something or interact with you.
Do that.
Like, I feel like a little
That's
bit
so
of like
true,
a wind up toy or something. It was
in the
fun.
video, there's one where a guy's like playing with the guy and he like puts his finger and the guy just fucking punches him.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Felt a bit like musical chairs. That's what I kept smiling to myself, because it was like you're moving about and then the music stops.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
funny.
Moving
It was
about.
silly in a good way.
Yeah,
It was like
good.
a good vibe. It also gave at least me like a nice energy to answer the questions, and I felt like I was a little bit more like not super serious, a little bit more like playful, and being able to answer some questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're literally interacting real time with
Which you've never
people.
done before.
Yeah. It's cool.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Doing it
It's
every
fucking
week
bizarre.
now.
Yeah, every week.
Every week. Okay.
Every
Thursday.
Thursday. Nice.
Thursday, 4:00 ish.
Nice. I have a question.
Let's hear it.
how does it feel? We were kind of talking about this yesterday, to basically be making a video a day. I think it's like an interesting, I've always thought about doing it, but I've never been in the position where it's like, that's my job, or like I have to do it basically. I'm just curious, kind of like, is it creatively satisfying? Do you feel drained at times? How do you kind of deal with that?
I think it's a mix of positive and negative. The positive, I'd say, is not worrying so much about it being 100% perfect. And also the fact that because it's like 6 days a week, I don't get super stressed out about one particular post because the next day is going to be something different.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, some of it, like the pod snippets, for example, doesn't require a bunch of creativity. It's still really interesting, I find. But then having the stuff that takes a bit more time, like the behind the scenes stuff, I really enjoy that because it's also a bit more creative. It's a nice combination of creativity and then having some kind of routine. Although I have found that in the past like 2 weeks or so, because it's sort of been, I've had less of a structure when it comes to creating something, let's say in the morning that needs to go out in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That's a bit more stressful.
Yeah.
So I prefer it like now, if I can keep up the being, let's say, a week ahead or at least like a few days ahead.
Yeah.
That's cool because then it's less.
We're very hot on the trigger, I think.
Yeah.
You know? I think, like, we were thinking originally to not post something for a week so that we could kind of gather, 6 days worth of content
at the start.
And then start. It's very hard to do that, and it's very hard to justify, like, why not just start now? And the pressure is maybe good.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think we had spent a couple weeks before that not posting anything, and we weren't creating much either. I think the first couple posts took like 10 days for 2 posts or something. And I think part of that is there wasn't the pressure of like, this needs to come out on Friday. So a little bit you have the feeling of like, I've kind of got unlimited time with this. I can make it perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, a huge part of that was the video we can't talk about.
Yeah.
That we made content for that. So that, obviously it's only 2 pieces of content, but that was what was being worked on to begin with. That was meant to get us ahead. But then the posting of that video that we can't talk about was postponed as well.
Yeah.
So
the mystery.
So we never got to get ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And now we're trying to get ahead a little bit because Robin's going to be gone for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You've been working on that, obviously.
I think the first 2 videos that aren't out yet, it also had a bit more writing on it because it was, it's like for a specific point in time where it's important for that stuff to be good.
Yeah. It was also your first videos for us. I'm sure there was a feeling of like you want to prove yourself a little bit.
That's true.
But do you feel creatively drained ever, or with the sort of what's coming out of this? It's just like an interesting experiment that it's, every day it's almost something completely different.
Yeah, I'd say for the most part I enjoy it. I think I mean, I'm the kind of person who enjoys having like structure.
I can tell.
Yeah. So I think but it's also like a learning experience. I think having the days where I don't know, when I come in the morning and I'm like, I don't actually know what I'm going to be posting like 5 hours from now.
Yeah.
It's also good because it teaches me to.
It's good in small doses.
Yeah. Yeah. But then when it's like a bigger thing, then it is a bit more stressful.
I am the last couple of weeks, so I'm working on this pitch, right? But really I'm like, I'm working on the pitch maybe like, I'd say 20% of the time, just because of the other things that we're doing in terms of getting like new clients, and then also stuff to do with social media. And I find working on the pitch really difficult.
Really?
Yeah. Like really
I
fucking
can tell
difficult.
when you're like, I'll answer the email. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a little bit of a reason for that too, but this is definitely some part of me that's like, the feeling of like not knowing exactly what to do. It's so tough on like when it's day after day after day. It's not like, boom, here it is. Got to do it. Just got to get it done. Time equals work. Like it's more of just like, there's so many different things it could be. There's this thing I could talk about, and what's the best angle? Like, where are they going to understand that? And is this even what I want to focus on? Like, how do I start it? Like, and so whenever there's like a little like, hey, can you help me do this? And it's like concrete and like structured. I'm like, yes, please let me do that.
Yeah, I can empathize with that. I think it's hard. Yeah, it's like there's the positive side of that where you have a bit more like freedom, but then if you're also from like one day to the next, the more time you spend not working on that, it also then gets harder to make progress with it, because it becomes a bit more of a bigger thing than
it's writer's block.
Yeah,
that's what it is. I mean, it's
2 bad pages a day.
It's just writer's block. It's so bad, but it doesn't even feel like 2 bad pages a day. I was trying to tell Phoebe yesterday. I was like, so I've got the logline concept down. You know, condense it to its purest form.
Yeah.
And keep it intriguing and have it be open-ended. Who are the characters? What's the conflict? And leave it on an open end to make people want more. The single page, okay, I can do that. You're just touching on the main peaks and the main troughs.
Yeah.
Is that the word? Peaks and troughs?
Peaks and troughs.
Yeah.
Peaks and troughs.
And so I can do that too. Writing a full script, that's very difficult, but that the concept I get, you know, obviously it's everything. You're going to write about everything. You're not going to leave out details. Well, you might leave out like certain visual details and like camera movements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I get that. This kind of in between where you're talking about like 5 to 10 pages, it's like I can't get my head around how detailed I need to go. And I've started so many times, and suddenly I'm like 3 pages in, and I'm like, well, I'm like only on the fucking first scene.
Right.
So then I'm like, oh, well, like...
Picture this: wooden floorboards, a white wall, a table in the room. There's a book on the table, a red book. A man sits by the table.
And it's like, how do you convey... Because you can't just... It's different than the outline, which is the 1-page thing, because you are trying to get the emotion across of what it's going to feel like to watch this thing as an audience member. So you can't just go through and like write it like a synopsis.
Yeah.
It's not just like then this happens, then this happens, then this happens. You have to get people emotionally involved. The point of a treatment, which is like 5 to 10 pages that explain the story in full, is you have to get the reader emotionally invested. So it needs to read like it'll feel. Yeah. With rising tension and dramatic pauses and like whatever the fuck.
You write dramatic pause?
Yeah, I write that. I use paragraph. ...
Yeah, interesting.
Wait. Turn the page and you'll see what happens next. No, but like, it's very difficult. It's something totally new.
Yeah.
And I'm really struggling with it.
Is there a way to sort of divide by 10? So if, you would know at which page count you kind of need to be at which part of the story.
Yeah, maybe.
Is it purely story, or is it also an explanation for what you're doing? Or that's the question.
I think the part that I'm struggling with is I don't think I can write out just this is the story in that few amount of pages and have the emotion come across. I have to kind of diverge a little bit from just talking story and say this is kind of what the point of this is. Yeah. Because I can't explain the point without writing multiple pages that explain the like what's going on. Yeah. So I kind of have to at some point say, more interestingly than this, like the scene is highlighting the conflict between the brothers. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of, building up the characters and then having a scene play out in which they're typing on a computer together and like they're deleting what they actually want to say and writing something instead. Right. Like as soon as I have that, that's a page. And then I can't. So I'm just not used to writing, and then this is what you're supposed to feel here.
Right. Okay.
What
In a way that's not boring.
Mm.
You know, how do you, like, it seems a little bit like mysterious to me how you do that.
I feel like I would fluctuate between very detailed and sort of like if you set it up,
Yeah.
make it quite detailed,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next part could be sort of the fun and games is more of a, and then this and this and this happens, not as detailed.
Yeah.
And then focusing on the parts that are really important. You know, that all leads up to this moment.
Yeah.
Which now is detailed again. What this is going to explore is the brotherly relationship and blah blah blah, because as kids we also had blah blah. I mean, it's a lot easier said than done.
It is, yeah. That's the part. I'm like, okay, I'll have moments of like, okay, I think I get it.
Yeah.
And then I'll start writing it, and I'm like, how now it feels like almost impossible to transition out of this.
Yeah.
To then suddenly go exactly like you said, and then
Yeah.
like. Like, do you literally write, and then some more scenes happen?
Yeah, maybe a little bit more eloquently, but yeah, that's what I would do, I think.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not in the middle of it. Also, potentially part of it is revealing that you're still figuring out the story.
Well, yeah.
So if
I
you're
mean,
not
that's
entirely
probably the
clear on what it
main
is,
thing. Exactly.
that'll
It's
stop
that.
you from.
It's like, how do I can't figure out the story because I'm not writing the script.
Yeah.
Because it's a documentary as well.
Right.
So
Right.
it's also like, it's based in things that haven't happened yet.
Yeah.
A lot of the things.
Yeah.
It's based on expectations of what might happen.
Yeah.
Of scenes that might happen, that might be captured on camera. And that all leads to, well, first of all, the whole proposal has two purposes. The first one is to figure out what your film is for you, figure out what the flaws are and fix them before you start doing it. And then it is as a sales pitch.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the first part that's stumping me.
What are your what's your like page ordering? Like, how much time do you spend in one go trying to write?
Not that much.
I think ordering.
Yeah, like how much time if you sit down and write, do you say, I'm going to spend the whole day trying to write this one section?
I mean, I think definitely a big part of it is that just in the last 2 weeks, we've really kind of focused heavily on getting new clients, which means that a lot of time is spent brainstorming, writing the scripts for those clients, communicating with the clients, literally going to meetings in person and on the computer, and then reevaluating the scripts, rewriting the scripts. So there's constantly little jobs that need doing. It doesn't take up the whole day, but it takes up, say, 50% of the day. And then you're left with these weird transitional points where it's like takes a sec to like mentally get back into it again. It's like, why you try to block off time to like write a script in one go. The idea of like writing a script on the side, I have no fucking idea how you did that, by the way.
Of course, the first script? Yeah, nightmare. I mean, it didn't turn out.
I can't even imagine like working and then for 2 hours in the evening writing on it.
So you don't really have enough mental space to be able to fully focus on it.
I think there's multiple things, because I wouldn't say that like I don't have the mental space. I can create that probably.
Yeah.
It's a slow process though. When you're coming up with ideas, I think a lot of time is spent just sitting there and thinking.
It's terrible. I hate it. It's so bad.
And you're trying to get inspired, and you'll watch a bunch of things.
Yeah,
and trying to figure
exactly.
out.
I feel like I've listened to the same, like, music is a big one for me. Listening to like certain songs that make me feel what I want the scene to feel like, even though it has nothing to do with this like one song.
Yeah.
But there's something about the way it's sung or the live performance that was given that gets a feeling across. So I'll just sit and listen to it on repeat, and like at first I'll be like, yes, I feel that this is what it's about. I feel the emotion, and then I'm like, oh fuck, I lost it. Like, where'd it go? And then I keep listening to it, and then by the end I'm like, I fucking hate this song. I need to listen to something else. Yeah, it's a weird process.
Funny. I tried that technique with Boris Vian, where I'd only listen to the Clockwork Orange soundtrack when I wrote, and I'd always start with the same fucking song, which is like a
that's exactly what I do.
And then you'd get in the mode, and I can still listen to it now. I think right afterwards I was like, I'm so fucking sick of this entire soundtrack.
I listened to a weird combination of Elvis and a band called Neon Priest. That's a Danish band that we worked with on a video.
I can't write with lyrics. That's my problem.
Yeah, I'll turn it. There'll be a point where I'm like, okay, I got something, and then I'll have to like turn it down or even like turn it off completely.
Yeah, that's why I need like classical or like piano or something.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's definitely been a little bit. It's not super fun. I'm not really enjoying it. It's like a difficult process. There's also a feeling of like pressure to do it. Like a lot of fucking shit going on. Yeah. It's like it needs to be done. It needs to be done.
But there's like
but it needs to be good as well,
that are fun, I think.
Yeah.
But I think the majority of writing is a pretty tedious,
I know.
menial task.
I think right now I'm in the middle. Hopefully I'm coming out of the longest writer's block I've ever had.
Yeah.
There'll also be like days where I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This will solve everything.
Yeah.
Like I've got it. I've got that one idea.
Yeah.
The way that'll now this clicks, now this clicks, now this clicks, and then I'll wake up the next day and I'll be like, no, it doesn't. That's terrible. It doesn't solve it at all. It just makes another problem. It's not what it's about. Like suddenly the whole thing changes, and I'm like, ugh.
But also you don't know. I mean, there's only a point to which you can get. It's like if you're writing, let's say the pitch for Free Solo. It's like you can know you're going to focus on the relationship and stuff, but then he climbs. And then
I can't imagine what a pitch for that would be like. What the hell do you write?
Well, I think it would be a lot easier for that one.
Character study. This is who this guy is. This is what he's like.
These
are the things we can see it being about.
Yeah.
Maybe, so I do have a few new ideas. Maybe what would help is actually to brainstorm out loud.
Sorry, I'm busy that day. Damn.
I'm not.
That'd be good.
Just to like, because that was definitely a big part of like a couple weeks ago when I just talked to you about certain ideas.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that sounds pretty good. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That stayed. Everything that was written around that time, I still have.
They're cool ideas. I like them.
Yeah.
I like them a lot.
Yeah, I'm still there.
I'm a little bit scared about. We can't really talk about it, but there's one prop that you want to get that we'd have to probably crane into the office somehow.
Oh,
that would be a little bit intense. I actually don't think we could get it in.
Yeah, we'll figure. Yeah, that's not helping.
It's like True Gum. Is total aside. They had a machine. They like worked on the top floor of some building, and they had to get this kind of mixing machine into their kind of makeshift factory, and it didn't fit through any of the windows, so they just had to cut out a hole
in the wall.
Yeah,
No
and then
way.
drop it in with the crane, and then like reattach the wall basically.
If you're on the top floor, it'd be fine. You just.
It's like such a holy fuck. There's no way these are concrete walls. We just blow up
Through the balcony window.
Probably remove.
Ooh, actually,
There's
balcony.
a lot more space. Yeah.
Oh, that would be fucking sketch, mate.
It's like the size of a desk. It's not that big.
It's not that big.
I have no idea what you guys
Pretty
are
fucking big.
talking about.
We're talking about
a
a
Steinbeck
editing bed, which is like it's an old.
Oh,
like how you
yeah,
used to
yeah,
edit.
yeah.
With basically a bunch of like knobs and cranks and wheels and there's a full screen.
They
It's
had
made
one
out
of those
metal, it's like a massive
at
thing.
Kent, I think.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you use it?
No, it's on display.
Ugh, boring.
Yeah.
Well, that's enough of my sulking.
Okay.
Moving on.
I have another question.
Yeah.
What do you think we could do better as a company?
As a company.
As a company, or just any room for improvement? Anything that you've seen that you think could be done better?
It's a tricky question to answer.
The right answer is nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
You're not.
Next question.
Yeah. No.
I think that's the wrong question to ask. I think maybe the question would be, is there anything that could be added to make it
Better?
more efficient, or like, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking maybe, not really, to be honest. I mean, you talked about wanting to get more clients. That's happening. I think as far as like a few weeks back, we had a conversation about like communication and all that stuff. Back then, I would have said maybe that, but
Right.
No.
I was just curious.
I think what's clear is that wherever we focus our energy, like, improvement is seen.
Yeah.
And it's pretty, I'd say, easy to predict what, like, if we want to focus on getting new clients, that's very much a reality that we can create by focusing on it.
Yeah.
And if we focus on other parts of the business, that's where improvement will be seen. The hard part is figuring out what the balance is and how much to focus on what and when to do what, because we can't.
Yeah.
I think I don't think anyone's really good at just like multitasking constantly.
Yeah,
so it's like kind of, now we're going to focus on this for a bit, and then we'll transition into this, and then we'll transition into this.
Compartmentalize.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm thinking more like, it wouldn't even have to be us necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I worked at production houses, and I know a couple things that I'd be like,
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
What would you say?
Like what?
Like, maybe very technical would be like some sort of joint server that we could all access the same footage and work on the same projects and stuff.
I think
Sounds good.
So. One thing that I've really wanted to try and make an effort to do is be more organized with everything, so that, like, in the case where, let's say I'm away and you need to get something from not my computer, like my hard drive or something. If I leave it here, you'd know exactly where to go.
Yeah.
So if there's like, if we'd all use the same sort of storage format, the same kind of way of organizing folders and all of that stuff. But I mean, it's a hard thing to focus on if you don't really have that much time to.
It's hard.
I think it's really easy, actually.
You think?
It's just moments of laziness that make a project become unorganized.
Well, no. See, I think my projects are pretty organized.
Yeah. I would say mine
Hey,
are.
why are you looking at me, man?
Yeah, yours are fucked.
You have like the assets, sequences, extras, all that stuff. And even on my hard drive, it's the same thing. But what I'm saying is that having a system that we all follow.
Yeah, I like that.
A bit more challenging because we work in different ways.
But what it means is that if we ever had the same footage on separate hard drives, if we were organized exactly the same way, I could just open up your project.
That's true.
I was going to say that it's hard to focus on or prioritize until something happens where you see how negative the outcome can be. So the other day when we were working on the project we can't talk about, and we were working towards a deadline, and kind of for the first time I'd say ever, the fact that my project was as disorganized as it was made it suddenly very scary to meet that deadline, because I literally couldn't find certain things that I knew were just hidden somewhere in the project, and I had to manually go through and find them.
Which project? Oh, the one
we can't talk about. And suddenly I was like, oh my God, I can't find the sequence. And I'm like, right, because you were doing that the last time we had a deadline, and you were just making the sequences and dropping them into whatever folder happened to be open. And that could literally be anything. And so I was like, oh my God. So that obviously creates a moment of, like, pain. And it's a pain to have to deal with. And so I'm going to associate organizing it the next time around with, I want to avoid that happening. It's the same thing as, like, as soon as you lose an SD card or footage gets formatted, then you're going to fucking learn how to format stuff and save stuff and back up stuff. You kind of need that. It's a rare person who can prioritize things that haven't gone wrong yet, I'd say. Yeah,
that's true. I think, but going back to your question,
I think my question comes from, I know you've worked at different production houses.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so
there I
straight
really
up comparisons.
At first, like when I learned how they organized everything, or everyone organized everything the exact same way. Way of naming things, way of like the there's a specific word for it.
File structure. File tree.
I don't remember.
Oh.
But then when you go, you can go into anyone else's computer and know exactly what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I assume that probably took some time for them to. Definitely took them some time to figure that out. So if that's something that we could do, it would be a good idea. But I think
it's very hard. You know what it is? It's the balance of speed.
Yeah, it's so hard.
And thinking in the future, I'm gonna have to
be speedy in the future.
Because when I'm in a state of flow and editing, if I can get that YouTube clip into my sequence in 3 seconds as opposed to like 7, it's I don't know what it is. It would make more sense to, let me find the file and blah, blah.
I don't think it would sometimes.
But I think there's a general organization that you can keep where it's like, it doesn't have to be so organized, but it's like at least say, okay, well, all my YouTube videos are in this spot. I'm going to stop downloading to the desktop, for example. Or,
Your desktop is such a mess.
It's fucked right now.
Yeah.
It's really fucked.
But going back to that point of flow, I think that's why mine is messy.
Yeah.
I'll get into a state of like, sometimes we'll be working on it at the same time and it's like, ooh, I have an idea. Hang on, let me just show you. And then it's like, gather everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just throw it in there so that I can show you because I need you to see it now.
Yeah.
And that's super important.
Because I'm at a point where I almost feel like my thoughts, it's like when you get quicker at typing.
Yeah. I'm
like
way ahead.
You're trying to get your hands to move as quickly and the interface to move as quickly as your thoughts are going.
Yeah.
And any sort of slowing down on that,
you risk losing that thought.
It's just like it's just frustrating, But But
you don't have that at the beginning when you like have all the stuff and then.
Well, it's also things like the reason things are on my desktop is because the hard drive fills up or something.
Yeah, true.
And then I'm like, but I just want to finish this, especially during the time where we have deadlines. In that moment, you're like, well, I'm not going to spend an hour now offloading stuff from this hard drive and backing it up to something else. It's going on the desktop, buddy.
Yeah.
Do we need to restart?
No, in like 5 minutes.
Okay.
I think what I was going to say
file
is
structure.
that... What?
Go ahead, sorry. I keep
What
cutting
did
you
you
off.
say? Stop cutting me off.
Sorry.
About whether there are any improvements. There's one word that I've been trying to think. It's not
workflow.
It's not motivation. It's not. It's sort of. It's a similar word to motivation. Intention. So when you guys, whatever it is that you guys do, the intention is always there. So the intention to. I think, from my experience, whatever you guys set your mind to, the intention is always, or at least most of the time, to do it to the best of your abilities and to get the most out of it. So even if there have been times, I'm talking quite vaguely here, but even if there have been times where we've done something or you've done something and it hasn't necessarily gone to plan, I think there's always a positive side to it because the intention to make it the best that it can be is always there. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say that we have our...
Strange in the context of, I'm just trying to loop it
to
make your point. It was kind of in the context of what can we do better? Or is that just something that you...
Well, the fact that you're asking that, the intention behind it is to improve.
I see.
So there's always the intention to improve and see, like your thoughts about like growing and hiring other people and doing new stuff. It's always with the positive intention of like moving forward. So I think because there's that general sense of whatever the word would be.
I would say our core values and goals are, I think those are solid. And that kind of informs a lot of other smaller things. So that you're saying that even if certain things aren't like exactly optimized because I don't think that's possible. It's still kind of built off of something that is working and that is the right thing or whatever you want to call it. Because it can be difficult in the moment to know what to prioritize, because something might be right there and a little bit of work, you could make that something that you're not going to be working on. I'm talking about like clients, for example. And it takes a lot of effort to have to kind of bear in mind like the other things that are also going on, and how in a month's time there might be a whole new set of things that are like opportunities that like we also need to maybe consider being ready for that to happen. And so it's like constantly a balance of like what's happening immediately and what's like a little bit more vague in the sense that it's going to happen in the future. And you don't know 100% that's going to happen in the future, but there's a good chance that something might pop up in the future.
Yeah. I think also with it being in a bigger company, there's a lot that the like lower level people aren't privy to, that they won't see. And one of those things would probably be like the goals for the company, for example. So like the fact that I am at least somewhat aware of what you want the future to have for the company, for the future to be for the company, I think that also brings an overall like positive growth, like sense of growth being a priority.
I mean, I think maybe I'd say that most big companies do have like an overall like mission statement, but sometimes that's so vague and so general that it's hard to know what that even means and how that's going to be applied. I'd say maybe because we're smaller, you're able to see both the long-term like general mission statement, but also like the steps that we're taking to kind of move in that direction. So the more like immediate things that are happening.
Yeah, I think the fact that I can't really be like stagnant with how much effort I put in to the work that I'm doing, because it's like constantly needing to move forward and improve. Whereas my point was, I guess, that if you're working at a big company with lots of people, if one person isn't putting in that much effort, it might not necessarily be that noticeable.
Right.
So you don't have to come in every day with the intention of doing the best job that you can that day. As much as it should be like that, and you should want to put as much effort in as possible. Here, if I like slack off, it would show
immediately as well.
And also the like, I don't want that to be the case. I like don't want to have a day where I come in and I'm like, it's not really, can't really be bothered.
I think that is, we had talked when we were initially thinking of having you come out here. About how do we make it feel like you're responsible for the thing you're doing, because obviously initially the talks is like, oh, there's a third person, so he'll just
do whatever,
take a slice of what we're doing, which is also going to be every day something kind of new, a little bit part of the company, but it would have never felt like you own any of those things, because you would just be assisting in the things that we're doing. And then I think we had a bit of an aha moment when we were like, oh, social media, like that's something somebody could pretty much completely take over, be responsible for. There's metrics for it. There's a strong feeling of like, you know, you can see how well it's doing as much as we can see how well it's doing. And I'm not talking about the number of followers, but our reaction to it, if we're like, oh, this is really good. This is,
and the quality of it,
and how many comments we're getting.
The level of engagement.
Huge. It's good to hear that that's kind of worked.
Because I think if you're able to, or if you're if you can directly influence or have to directly influence what comes out of that, it's obviously you're gonna have to put effort in. You're gonna have to like constantly try and improve and
Yeah.
see what works, see what doesn't work.
I remember there's a strong feeling of like if you finish something that was 90% your work, there's that sense of pride of you telling somebody, like, you show it to people, like, oh look, I did this thing or whatever. I remember working on like TV shows, and I felt like a fraud. My name would show up at the end of the credits, and it's also, you know, people don't understand what the credits are on TV and stuff, and then it's like, oh Taylor, you did such a good job. It was such a I didn't do shit. I like imported the footage and did this other thing, you know? But then it would be so satisfying if one of the editors would go, hey, Taylor, do you want to edit this small part? So at least I could go, those 6 seconds, that was me. That transition right there, I did that, is a much more satisfying and made me work way harder in those moments.
Yeah, of course. Because even if something has your name on it, when you actually put a lot more work into it, you feel a sense of pride.
But it's like a mentality, right? Because there was people who were there for 5 years, who had done the same job for 5 years, who were just happy with that. But I was like, I guess I put a lot of value in like, you know, the work that I put out.
I mean, maybe it's also like if you've experienced a situation where you're not you don't have the ability to have much of a say in what goes on. When you do get that experience, it means a lot more. You know?
Do you show stuff that you do for us to other people?
To other people?
Like
I mean,
girlfriend, right?
Yeah, I mean,
a couple times.
She's very supportive, likes all my posts. I showed the podcast intro to people just because
you like
I mean, I said one of the things that I've been working on is that when they ask. And yeah, I mean, going back to what you said about feeling like good about having something be something that you did put 90% of the work into. I think on a day-to-day basis, I don't really have that so much with like the videos that come out or the content that comes out. But then
you don't have what?
That feeling.
Like I'm not super proud of like
right
yesterday's post or
right. What was yesterday's post?
Pod snippet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But then when I like every so often scroll through, I'm like, this is all stuff that I've done. You know, it's cool. And the fact that it's like lots of smaller things, it's also quite nice to see.
Yeah, that is important to look at it as a whole as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's often what, at least in my opinion, social media is about. It's not about standout single pieces of content that happen like so far apart. It's like a collective feeling, something that would make someone want to come back for more of something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I think that's totally up to you. I think that's what I like about it as well. Is, you know, as you keep doing it, the quicker you're going to get at doing certain pieces that, like, already we're at the point now where you have 2 pod snippets and something that I do on Fridays, right? The film review. So you're getting more and more time to then also do better and better kind of projects that you could be proud of, you know?
Like
the road to like doing more stuff like the podcast intro and it's such a perfect place to explore those things, not in the context of like, oh fuck, this is a commercial for a company. It's
like this massive thing.
If this fucks up, then what am I gonna do? It's like it's a perfect like playground to just try whatever, really.
But I mean, there still is some pressure, but it's more like a positive, sort of a little hint of pressure there.
No pressure is a bad thing.
I totally agree.
And I think that's what we should work towards, you know, is that we kind of, what do you call it? When you make something super efficient, it goes like, it's like an assembly line, basically. You know, we have these pieces of content that are just like, you don't even have to think. They just, okay, those are done for the week. Now I have time to really.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I want to work towards having all of the content be ready, like, I don't know, a week. Or at least a few days in advance, so that then the stuff that is a bit more creative, I can put more time and more. I can think about it more before it before I have to actually do it.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting though too, you have an idea, we talked about this with the yesterday commercial. You have an idea, you go, oh, maybe I'll do like a photo and kind of, I don't know, animate it or something, and I'll get a still from Mads.
Yeah.
And then you create it.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
It's it shows you how like powerful just having those neurons blipping in that moment make you think of this one thing that now, the whole day you spent doing this little thing and you get a product at the end of it.
But then there are also days where I'm like, I have no fucking clue what I'm going to be doing today.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I really.
But I don't think you run out of ideas. I think you get better at making ideas.
Yeah.
So the more you practice, the more you do it. It's not, you're not sapping dry like this limited kind of creative juice. I think it's literally like you increase the production of it. You start to see more and more possibilities. The more videos I watch on product videography, the more ideas I get, and the more we do it, I don't go, oh fuck, we've almost done all the stuff we could do on a tape. It's like, no. So now I want to fucking have this thing moving in the background with,
For me, that's currently the problem with the pitch. It's like an overwhelming amount of ideas that are coming constantly, which I think is because of still figuring out what's the core of it, and kind of fluctuating between a few different things. That there's like, oh, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. It's not like I'm sitting there going like, what should this be? Yeah. It's like 4 things coming in at the same time, and then it's like, which one's the best one? Yeah.
Still a good thing though, the fact that you just have to like, the hard part is picking and choosing what is the best route to go down.
Maybe. I don't know. I think maybe sometimes it would actually be helpful to.
I think talking about them. A lot of times you'll just recognize yourself like, oh wait, that's actually a shit idea. Yeah. As soon as I said that, I realized how stupid that was.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's like what you said about when you're editing and as soon as you show it to someone, even though they're not saying, they don't have to say anything.
It's like, okay, it's fine. I've said it.
Go away.
Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
It's very weird how you'll even like, I'll watch it, and it's not until I watch it with somebody that I realize like, oh, there's like a black frame in here or something.
Yeah.
And it's like so frustrating where I'm like, oh, disregard that. That's not supposed to be there. That's obviously wrong.
Yeah.
That's very accurate to the pitch as well. It's like, I'll write it and I'll be like, but imagine this. And I'm like, but what is that? You need to be able to say what that is. And I'm like, okay, I don't quite know. Yeah. So then I can't write that whole part. So then I have to spend time figuring out what that part that I'm not able to explain is. And then I'm like, oh, right, that's because I still don't quite know what the ending is. I was like, okay, I got to work on the ending. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, I feel like it could end this way. And then you're like, but now the start needs to change because that's not what it was before. I'm like, okay, I'll work on the start.
You just have to accept that somebody's going to think you're crazy. I remember when I was writing, Kevin, my roommate, every day I'd go, I got it. So this happens, then this happens. It all leads to this. It's perfect.
I know I'm crazy. And I'm constantly thinking that. Yeah. I'm like, you are crazy.
It's
I'll have moments of like, yes, I'm literally a genius. That is genius right there. And like, it doesn't matter how difficult that is to do. I can fucking make it happen. I can do it all. And then I'll be like, that's terrible. That's delusional. That's like, no, you should simplify it. You should make it like it constantly jumping back and forth between 2 extremes.
I guess it's hard to.
Sorry. Bit of a downer over here. Can we talk about the pitch again, please? Because I want to tell you guys.
You did circle it back.
That's the 3rd time now. I'm really,
really
trying. So,
it's an interesting thought. Do you write a script with a budget in mind? Or do you just write what you want to write, which is, I think, what I would tell people to do.
Well, the last time that happened, it was like the budget ended up being like.
But you don't know. I think that the
several $million
is that you try to compromise, and you compromise on story before you even know if you had to compromise.
Yeah.
Well,
I think I'm very clear on if there's something I'm like, whoa, like this is something different. This is something new. Yeah. Then it's like very clear to me that, okay, well that now becomes a
Yeah, like
becomes essential.
10
We'll figure out a way to do
on
it
top of each other, glued all together, and then some sort of scene where somebody's jumping from plane to plane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Good idea.
What? You're trying to talk about a crazy stunt. That would be difficult to do.
Tangent, yeah.
No, I mean, like you'll have those moments of like, wow, this really makes it. Like this is
like
genuinely
planes,
a
right?
good. Yeah, like that. Or then it's not like ooh, am I trying to figure out ways to justify adding? No, it's like this is what makes it worth it. So then it like informs the like reason why we should figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Rather than like figuring out is this worth it or not. It's like.
Yeah, and you kind of, when I heard those stories about like when they're shooting that film Arctic or whatever, I still haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? I think they had a $2 million budget, and they needed like a polar bear in one of the shots, and he went to some CG guy, and the guy was like, he gave the budget for the movie, and the CG guy thought it was the budget for the CG of the bear. Yeah. Right.
He's like, I don't know if we can do it.
He's like, yeah, we can figure this out. And he's like, no, for the bear, it's like, I don't even know what the budget for that was. It's way too low to do it. And then, it forced him to call some animal trainer or whatever who happened to have a polar bear. They figured out how to get the polar bear to Canada. They set up the set. They get the polar bear shot that they need. It's a little bit sketchy doing it and everything, but you still end up with the same project. And in that one, it's like, maybe it was better. It's a real fucking bear.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's what I mean.
Before we
need
just write
a real
the story,
bear, or we need to have the scene.
I want a bear.
Yeah, no, not I want a bear. It needs to be there, and this is why. I can show you why. Without it, you don't have that element of tension.
Somebody goes, "What about a walrus?"
Yeah.
No, that's not as fast. It's slow.
It's slow.
Good analogy.
Well, it's more of a.
Okay, I thought it was.
What's the word? Is that an analogy? I thought analogy is more like
metaphor.
No, it's a good like story an example of a story of it.
Yeah, an example. It's just a straight up example.
Is it an analogy?
So there's another word with a, I think.
Allusion to, allusion.
Yeah, that's
If you allude to something. It's
It's whatever.
Contextualized it. Takes a theoretical idea to a concrete example of. Once you know that you need something, you'll figure out a way to get it within the ramifications.
Fancy word for example. Anyways, wow, I'm really throwing in the tangents here.
Well, I think that was.
But let's talk about did we talk about the pitch at all?
We can talk about it more.
Let's see if I had any more questions. Do you have anything you want to talk about? I mean, just off the top of your head, try to remember when you did the podcast, having said, there was a couple more things that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, you didn't hit us with any tough questions, or if you did, they definitely weren't very tough, I gotta say.
Well, I said last time you had said that there were things you wanted to talk about.
You wanted to ask some more like candid questions, but you weren't sure if that would be okay on the podcast because, like, what are we allowed to talk about?
Right.
And I said we're allowed to talk about everything.
That is
well, you even
quite
edited
a while ago.
You can
cut it out.
Cut it out, whatever.
That's true.
But yeah, I'm not asking.
I
remember the first podcast.
Yeah.
I said right so much that I was cutting myself out saying right.
Really?
Yeah, because the whole podcast I was like right. Yeah, I thought it was like annoying to like for other people because while someone's talking, you kind of learn
to not talk,
to not go like which I still do all the time.
You still do quite a bit,
but I try to do it less. I try to be a little bit conscious of it.
When Phoebe was on the podcast, she was constantly going, yeah, which is nice in a normal conversation.
Yeah, but for this
on podcast, this is what you do.
Yeah,
it's very intense.
I haven't been close enough this time.
I think you're fine.
It's all right. I'll figure it out. I don't think so.
Let's end it there.
Oh, okay.
I think
we're an hour and a half in, dude.
Bro, we're an hour and 13 minutes in.
Oh, fuck. I saw that number.
Oh, that's still an hour and 13.
Yeah, it says 31 to me, man.
Not really, but...
The only reason I said that, we can end it in a sec, but the only reason I said that was because, and I don't remember what my questions were, but it's, as I said at the beginning, it's a weird feeling of wanting to have a normal conversation, but your brain is like, there are cameras filming and you're being recorded. You got this mic in
Yeah.
your face, and the fact that in a normal conversation you can always you can take things back, I guess. But this is going to be cut and put out for the world
Forever.
forever.
Well,
In
here's the thing.
thousands of years, people could go, what is this data file here? And it's the three of us.
Imagine this. Imagine if we sat down and had a conversation like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that doesn't happen. No one sits down around a table
Yeah.
without anything and just talks.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they
doing
do,
so-
but not in the same way.
You're drinking a coffee where it's totally fine
Oh, I
to
see.
like not talk for 20 seconds and just, point out something else that's happening or not say anything at all. This is an environment where you have to keep talking, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or we'd sit down and we'd have a meal together, or we'd sit down and we'd like play a game together, or we'd do like normally you do something.
You don't sit
it's-
down to
It's very rare to
unless there's,
sit and like, here we go, we're gonna talk.
For us.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say also like,
Do it all the time.
Yeah, you can.
but like, isn't it still like around like you're still doing something, or do you just literally sit down in front of one another, nothing, and like, okay, we're gonna have
Yeah,
a
you can see,
conversation.
like
Yeah.
drink a coffee or something. But I would say it's conversation based. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you have
Or I'll sit on the
something, a
balcony or
specific thing
something.
to talk about, then also chances are you won't
Yeah.
have a bunch of other
Aw. Who does she think she is?
interrupting.
Put her on the podcast.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm on the podcast.
You're live.
With
Yeah. What do you need?
Can I just ask you like a safety question?
Safety?
Yeah, you know the pickler?
Yeah.
So I put it, I had like unclicked it to make it flat and put it under the couch. And then so I'm trying to put it back up and put it at the ankle and I take the Allen key and that makes it come back together, right? I don't have to do any more clicking. You just tighten it so it comes back together.
Yep. There should be no gaps in between any of the wood.
Yeah, that's the thing. Some of them it looks flatter than others. I think it's fine, but I feel like
Just show me.
just imagining it like collapse. So see how on this side?
Oh, no. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Yeah, it's all good. Oh,
Okay, sorry, I thought you meant that way now. Sorry.
nope.
Bye.
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 Bye, Felicia.
Yeah.
So nothing.
So nothing? No questions?
Oh, I'm asking you.
No, I'm saying no questions on my part.
Ah, okay. Okay.
No.
Now I just want to pull out this podcast as long as I can.
Questions.
Is that on? What can we? Should we do some review time?
You want to put it?
Nah.
No, we don't need
All right.
Aaron.
All right. Let's end it. I'm enjoying myself. I'm sorry.
Okay, we can keep.
No, we'll end it.
No.
Do you have
We need to
anything
end
else
it on
to?
something good.
Yeah, it just feels like we're just trickling out a
Yeah.
little
How
bit.
about we?
We'll cut this part out.
No,
and we'll
keep
end
it
on
in.
something
Let
good.
the people know.
David Blaine.
Dave, did his thing come out? I thought it was coming out on
31st of August.
Friday. Oh.
I don't know about all this. I've been seeing you guys watch David Blaine, but I don't.
Well, it's just you had an episode with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan.
That's
He's moving to Spotify
I saw that.
in September soon.
We're already on
Huh?
Spotify, so
Yeah, but exclusively.
exclusively.
Yeah, it's like $100 million deal.
Oh, as in only Spotify.
Only Spotify.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I think he said he's allowed to post like maybe like 15 minutes of clips on YouTube still. But like the episode won't be on YouTube. It
No
won't be
way.
on podcast.
Why though?
They offered him
Spotify wants
$100 million.
Yeah. This is Spotify sees value in having him be on their platform
Yeah.
exclusively.
I mean, I
they're
guess
paying him to do it.
It's not really restricting. It's still there.
Well, it's going to bring a lot of people, I think, to...
Spotify.
I don't listen to
Spotify.
podcasts on Spotify.
Yeah. But you could if you wanted to.
Well, no, I
Most
like,
people
I
you
wanna
will.
listen to...
Yeah, good.
Yeah, a little bit of the old current affairs.
I'd just like to quickly add,
Uh-huh.
I'm happy that I'm here now and I'm going to keep working with you dudes.
Very good addition.
It's cool.
So
It is good. glad that you. What are your kind of long-term plans? Do you ever think about?
Long-term
You obviously
plans?
got a girlfriend in
I do
another
indeed.
country.
Yeah.
Um,
Should we just make the next half hour about relationships and all that
I'm
stuff?
curious. I mean,
I'm down.
Plans. Well, I've said, or we've both agreed that I think that it's important for both me and her to be doing the things that we are passionate about, and because we both care about each other, we should also respect the fact that the other person wants to be, because we're young as well, wants to be working towards some kind of end goal career-wise. And I think in the grand scheme of things, spending like, I don't know, let's say a year apart with, obviously we'll see each other at some point during that year, is a doable thing as long as like the communication is there and all of that. So yeah, I mean, at one point we'll be in the same place for a longer period of time, but.
Have you thought about what happens after a year?
Another year.
As in a year of what? After a year of
being apart. Yeah.
I think we'll just reevaluate the situation leading up to that.
Can we have her on the podcast?
Yeah.
Can we reevaluate it live?
Yeah, definitely.
That would be some good content.
We'll see you in a year's time.
Alrighty. Anything else? What am I thinking? Oh, it's spicy. All right, we'll see you next week on The Burning Boat Show.